Hey, what's going on, inspirational leaders? Another day of learning awaits us all. If you're here, it means you're navigating something big. Maybe you're transitioning into a new leadership role. Maybe you're guiding a team through uncertainty or redefining what success looks like for you after years of operating at the highest level. I get it. High stakes transitions can feel like uncharted territory. They demand more from us, more clarity, more adaptability, more courage. That's why in this month's Elevate Life video think letter, I sat down with Dr. Travis Hearne, PhD, a former Marine turned CEO, and I will not hold that against him, go Army, to unpack leadership strategies that matter most when the pressure is on. We talked about amputating to elevate. What are you holding on to that's slowing your momentum? Number two, the discipline shift, why motivation fades and how to build long-term success. And then number three, the 5 pillars that he talks about of holistic leadership, how to elevate every part of your life. And if you are in a season of transition, if you're in a season of growth or reinvention, this conversation is for you. Because true leaders don't just adapt to change, they elevate through it. So get ready, let's dive on in. Section 1, amputating to elevate. Leadership isn't just about what we gain, it's about what we release. I love the idea of growth, stacking skills, adapting responsibilities, building bigger visions. But here's the truth, most people miss. Growth isn't about adding, it's about amputating. The highest performers don't just learn what to pursue, they master what they cut loose. That was the theme of my conversation with Travis Hearne, a Marine veteran turned CEO. When I asked him, what did you have to amputate in order to elevate? His answer was raw and powerful. So let's take a listen in. We talked about what we have to release, what we have to let go of. And it's always the first question I have is, what do you have to amputate in your life? And then what did you have to elevate in your life to find the success that you are at right now?
Man, amputate, I had to amputate so many things. So going back to what I joined, I was in the Marine Corps for a long time. Like you said, Iraq and Afghanistan. When I came home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I joined, I joined the corporate world, and I started like living amongst the normal people, and just being a civilian. I realized I had a lot of trauma that I had to amputate, that I had to let go of when I'm coming out of the Marine Corps, coming out of deployments, and it was holding me back from being able to actually fully lead and fully support my team for at Titanium Consulting Group, fully support when I was at DIA, even fully support my Marines. When I came back from Afghanistan in 2010, I still had 4 more years left as an active duty Marine. So understanding that, like, man, there's some things that I need to work through, that I need to let go of. I really, really need to let go of. And one of those, it was the trauma, but mixed within that trauma was also alcohol. So one of the things, but a big thing in my life was that I had to let go a couple of years ago was drinking. I was not, I'm a kind of guy, John, I think you know me, that if I'm going to do something, I better be good at it. And I was not good at drinking. That was not something that I was good at, but I was really trying hard to be good at it. And it was not serving me. It was clogging my judgment. And this is all a personal decision to me. This is what it did to me. And it just wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving my people. I wasn't serving my people well when I had that part of my life. So being able to amputate that part has really helped to, I don't think we ever amputate the trauma that we experience in life, but we are able to dive into it and really heal from it. And you and I talked about healing yesterday, but we can start to heal, and we can continue to heal, and we can make the decision every single day that we're going to be better than we were yesterday, and we're not going to let trauma drive that train, or we're not going to let hurt drive that train. But what I had to elevate in those situations was, one, my relationship with my family. We talked about my family. I got an amazing wife, 3 amazing kids. They're 3 boys, 7, 9, and 11. We are busy. So getting rid of those things helped elevate me as a father, as a husband. And what it also did was it elevated me as a leader.
For him, for Travis, it wasn't about letting go of unresolved trauma and alcohol, the 2 things that were quietly but profoundly sabotaging leadership, his business and his family. The reality is, whether you're leading a company, a team, or your career, holding on to the wrong things can cost you everything. The problem, most of us don't realize the full extent of that cost until we make the cut. So here's our first lesson breakdown. For Travis, the waking up call was realizing that he wasn't showing up at his best, not for his business, not for his people, and not even for his family. He was succeeding on paper, but internally, something was misaligned. It turns out this isn't just a personal struggle. It's a universal leadership challenge. We see it in companies all the time. Financial costs, holding on to outdated systems, ineffective strategy, or toxic team dynamic strains drains the resources. Leaders often hesitate to make hard cuts, thinking they're saving money, but in reality, they're bleeding it. Time cost. Ever notice how indecision is one of the biggest productivity killers? The time spent avoiding a tough call or justifying a failing approach could be spent executing a better one. And then third, energy costs. Clinging to old habits or unhealthy coping mechanism doesn't just impact decision making, it clogs leadership. It's why even the most talented executives can hit an invisible ceiling. So let's flip the script. Instead of asking, what can I add to be a better leader? Let's ask, what do I need to amputate? For Travis, part of it was alcohol, a habit that wasn't just a personal issue, but one that blurred his leadership instincts. It clouded his judgment, zapped his energy, and prevented him from being fully present. When he made the decision to let it go, something unexpected happened. His clarity skyrocketed. He could make better decisions faster. His leadership sharpened. His team noticed the difference. His family life improved. He was more engaged, more patient, more there. And that is where the real magic happens. When we amputate what's holding us back, we don't just remove an obstacle, we create space for something better. That's the piece most people forget. You're not just letting go, you're leveling up. I've seen this play out in my own life too. There was a time when I had to amputate a belief. The belief that significantly changed me was that I overcame adversity. I overcame the amputation of my leg. I was about to do a TEDx talk and realized I was just saying the same thing as other previous speakers. But I found gold when I realized I did not overcome anything, and that none of us do. We do not overcome what we think is holding us back. We do not overcome the loss of a parent. We do not overcome the loss of a spousal relationship that's gone bad, the loss of moving from high school to college, or from college to the workforce, or from the workforce to retirement. We adapt in the new environment and have to allow ourselves the space and grace to grow in that new environment. And just like Travis, I didn't realize the weight of what I was carrying until I finally amputated it and set it aside, set it down. That's the thing about amputation. It's painful. Yes, trust me, amputation hurts. But it's also necessary for growth. So here's our call to action. So here's the challenge. What do you need to amputate in order to elevate your own success? Maybe it's an outdated business process. Maybe it's a leadership habit that no longer serves you. Maybe it's the belief that you have to do it all alone. Whatever it is, take 5 minutes a day, write it down, name it, acknowledge it, and then commit to cutting it loose. Because here's what I know. The weight you refuse to release is the weight that keeps you from rising. And when you finally let it go, that's when you elevate. Section 2, the discipline shift. Motivation is like a firework, big, bright, exciting, and gone in seconds. That's the challenge we face as speakers, coaches, and leaders. We can inspire, we can energize, and we can spark action. But what happens after the applause fades? That's exactly what Travis Hearne and I were diving into in our conversation on the podcast. Keynotes, he said, are great. He loves them. I love them. But motivation alone, it's not enough. Because if all we do is light a spark without a plan to keep that fire burning, we've done our audience a disservice. The real goal, transforming motivation into discipline. So here's our second lesson breakdown. Think about it. How many times have you walked out of an event fired up, ready to go, ready to change your life, charging forward, only to slip right back in the same routine? That's the problem. Motivation alone doesn't create lasting change. Discipline does. And Travis broke it down like this. Number one, inspiration. This is the first spark. a story, an idea, a shift in the perspective that wakes people up to new possibilities. Number two, motivation. This is the fuel. It's what gets people wanting to take action, but here's the catch. It's fleeting. Number three, discipline. This is where the real transformation happens. It's the system that keeps people moving along after the motivation wears off. Most organizations stop at step two. They bring in a great keynote speaker or people to make them feel good. Maybe they even take some action in the short term, but without a clear follow through, that energy fades. That's why great leadership isn't just about inspiring, it's about creating a framework for sustained change. Travis and I agree. If we want to really help organizations, we can't just show up, tell a powerful story and leave. We have to dig into the real problems. Before stepping onto a stage, Travis always asks leaders, what's the real challenge your team is facing? What do you want them to walk away with? Not just today, but months from now. And three, how will we measure success beyond the keynote? Because here's the truth. People don't book speakers just for entertainment. They book us because they have a problem to solve. A keynote without action is like a gym membership without workouts. It feels good in the moment, but nothing really changes. The best keynotes, they don't just make people feel something, they make them do something. So I've seen this play out in my own career. And as a professional speaker, Hall of Fame speaker, and a speaker coach, a coach that helps anyone in their profession, CEOs included, to be better communicators, I used to think that a standing ovation was the measuring stick. Nope. I have grown to understand that the best measurement is audience engagement, coupled with echo moments. Now, one does create the other, so stay with me. When the audience is engaged, they are more apt to take action. So I desire to be a good engager of the audience. This means understanding them to such a degree that they feel as if I was reading their mail. There is a way I can do this, but we have to have another discussion about how I do that. Some of my speaker colleagues told me that you can't change anyone, not in a 45-minute, 60-minute keynote speech. Well, there is some truth to that. Only a person can change, but a great speaker can plant the seed for an audience member to take action. And I believe that we often do not know the actions that people take. But I have had many echo moments. These are moments when a person has taken action and comes back to say, hey, thank you. They directly reference the speech and what I said in the speech. I call these echo moments because they allow me to see that I am on the right path. Just like a dolphin in the water or a bat in the darkness uses echolocation, what comes back is a validator of how you are showing up. It is guiding you in your process. As leaders, we should create echo moments. Echo moments ensure that my keynote continues. For me, echo moments is now a system, and that shift from a temporary spark to a lasting system was the game changer for me. So here's our second call to action and our challenge. What's one area of your life or business where you've been relying on motivation instead of discipline? Is it a leadership habit you keep intending to improve? A strategy you and your team gets excited about but never fully implements? A vision that needs real structure to take off? Write it down, then set up a system to make it stick, because motivation fades, but inspiration, discipline, now that's what builds legacy. Section number 3, the 5 pillars of holistic leadership. You ever meet someone who has it all together, not just in their business, but in their mindset, their energy, their relationships? It's like they're operating on a whole different frequency. That's not luck, that's alignment. And that's exactly what Travis was talking about when he broke down the 5 pillars of holistic leadership that he talks about and he created. Most leadership frameworks focus on the strategy, execution, or decision making. But Travis flips the script. He talks about it because, let's be real, if your mind is foggy, your energy is drained, and your stress is maxed out, no amount of business strategy is going to save you. The 5 pillars, they go beyond leadership theory. They're about creating a holistic, healthy leader. Here is a pillar lesson and a breakdown. The 5 pillars Travis teaches are, number 1, mental health. How well are you managing stress and staying clear-headed? Number 2, emotional health. How do you handle your emotions and the emotions of those around you? Number 3, physical health. How well are you taking care of your body, movement, and energy levels? Number 4, business health. Are your career or company goals aligned with your larger purpose? Number 5, spiritual health. Do you have a foundation that keeps you grounded in the bigger picture? And here's where it gets real. Most of us aren't thriving in all of these areas. Maybe you're sharp in business, but burned out emotionally. Maybe you're mentally strong, but physically just drained. Travis describes it like a bar graph, each pillar at a different height showing where you're thriving and where you're struggling. And that imbalance, it shows up in our leadership. If your mental health is neglected, you're making reactive decisions instead of strategic ones. If your emotional health is off, small problems feel big, like they're huge, and your team feels it. If your physical health is ignored, your energy tanks, and good luck leading when you're running on fumes. If your business health is neglected, you feel stuck, directionless, frustrated. If your spiritual health is weak, however you define it, you lack the deep-rooted why that keeps you anchored through uncertainty. The magic happens when you elevate these pillars together. Travis shared a simple but powerful truth. Holistically, healthy leaders make better decisions, build better teams, and create sustainable success, not just in business, but in every area of life. And the best part, you don't have to overhaul everything overnight. Small shifts, whether it's 5 minutes of movement, or journaling, making journaling a habit, or simply stepping outside for some fresh air, can start compounding right away. At the beginning of the year, my wife and I traveled to Florida to be with a group of families that looked at 10 areas of our lives. And then we held each other accountable for moving forward in those areas throughout the year. It is a family dynamic that we have begun to practice. It has the 5 that Travis listed, but then there are 5 more that I can get into a little bit later in another conversation. There was a time when this did not seem that important. But as I age, I desire to have an inheritance for my children's children. I have neglected my physical health. I mean, why is it that when I pass a gym, I think I've worked out? I have emotional health. I now take my breaks and manage both my emotional and mental health better. I find that once I started intentionally elevating these areas, everything else followed. It's not about being perfect in all 5 or 10 areas. It's about being aware of where you're at and making small, consistent improvements. So here's our call to action. Here's my challenge for you. Rank yourself in the 5 areas that Travis was talking about: mental, emotional, physical, business, and spiritual. Where are you thriving? Where are you struggling? Where do you need to elevate? Write it down and then pick one small act to start strengthening that weak spot. Because when you elevate yourself, you elevate everything around you, everyone around you. Okay, so we looked at 3 impact areas for leaders facing high stakes transition. The first was amputating to elevate. What are you holding on to that's showing, that's slowing your momentum? The second was the discipline shift, why motivation fades and how to build long-term success. And the third, the 5 pillars of holistic leadership, how to elevate every part of your life. So here are the next steps towards elevation. So let's land here. High stakes transitions don't wait. Whether you're leading a company through change, shifting from the military service to private sector, or preparing for life after professional sports, the decisions you make right now will shape your next season. So what's your move? What's the one thing you need to amputate so you can elevate? Where do you need to shift from motivation to discipline? Who's on your board of directors, keeping you accountable to your highest potential? Reflection is great, but execution is where the real growth happens. That's why I want to invite you to the Elevate Life Experience Executive Strategy Session, an executive, exclusive, high-level leadership roundtable designed for people just like you. The next section is going to be on March the 27th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Sign up now. We'll put the link in here so that you'll have it. And this just isn't just another meeting. It's where leaders in transitions come together to refine their strategies, sharpen their mindsets, and execute at a higher level. So here's your next step. Write down your biggest insight from today's Think Letter. Number 2, decide on one action you're going to take this week to implement it. And number 3, mark your calendar for March the 27th and sign up to Elevate, because in high stakes leadership transition, standing still isn't an option. You either evolve or you get left behind. So let's elevate. Go forth, inspire your world. We'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.